looking for 15% return. Don't present them the project. Bring them something that they will like. Seek first to understand and then to be understood. This is really the active listening component. When you're sitting across somebody, do you have the ability to reframe what they've said to you? So, if I said, I'm going to go to the grocery store, the person across from me could just simply say, okay, after you go to the grocery store, what do you want to do? So they've shown that they've understood what you've said, and then secondly, they've tried to engage in the conversation and move it further. That's the part of being genuine. Because if you can't remember what the individual said to you just 10 seconds ago, how can you be genuine about it? Synergize. Look for situations where 1 + 1 = 3. Give you an example. I just taught a class for the Professional Home Builders Institute, and there's an individual that has a framing business. And he asked me, how do I ensure I get longevity in my business? I said, are you making good money? He said, yes. Okay, so why don't you do this? Why don't you work with the builder and say he probably needs cash to increase his production? So tell him, I'll charge a fair market value for my framing, but I'll invest my profits into your company, and we'll do a profit share. So he's keeping his business going, but he's also facilitating the growth of his business by helping out his client. Focus on continuous improvement. You can be in a conversation, Sally did this, Bob did this, Susan did this, Victor did this. Or you could say, okay, Victor's challenged this, and Susan challenged this, Bob's challenged this, and Sally's challenged this. And if we can look at all 4 of these items, maybe we can deal with 2 of them, maybe not all 4 of the issues, but we can deal with some of them. Renew yourself. Sell yourself over and over and over again. People forget. You take it for granted. Many of you are married in this room. You forget your partner, or they forget what you do or what you bring to the table. You have to remind them. You have to say, hey, we did this, or you have to tell them, hey, in our relationship in the last 10 years, this is what we've accomplished together. Spend the time to enjoy each other. This will all result in higher stakeholder engagement. So when we start looking at successful business models, coming back to that first slide where we had the strategy with the 4 pieces around them, they're built on our processes, our people, our information systems, and our infrastructure. So I'm going to put it out to you guys. What comes first? Anybody? People? What if I told you I disagree?
Why do you disagree?
I think it's processes. I think it all starts with the process. Because your strategy is really defined in your processes. Okay? Coming back to Costco, right? And if their process is, if they want to make sure they want to be a low-cost, high-value provider, and they don't find value in paying 5% extra for the visa, they have to create a process first that will facilitate that. And often I find that processes are not defined in the business. Like in our businesses, there's lots of processes that are not defined. And when we start interacting with people, they don't know how to define the process, or they don't know how to execute it, they don't know what is the end goal. Because they don't know how to translate that strategy into their day-to-day lives. Because the blue sky is, hey, I want to be 600 homes a year, I want to service a few land developments, I want to build some commercial contracts, but your processes are really a translation of your strategy. But once you get your people defined, they will actually redefine your processes. It's a feedback loop that starts being created in the business. And once you have your processes and your people in place, your infrastructure needs to start developing up too. If you're in a city like Fort McMurray, where you have very limited ability to hire anybody, your organizational structure may be that you work out of a house instead of an office. Because office space costs $45 a square foot, whereas your rental space in a house would be $32 a square foot. Whereas in Edmonton, the gap may be $2 a square foot. So it makes sense, for recruitment purposes, you may have to have an office. You may have a situation where you're in a remote location, or you're in a suburb of a big city like Vancouver. You can only hire locally in Surrey. If you want to hire the true high-end talent like lawyers and financiers, you may have to go to downtown Vancouver. But once you have your infrastructure and your processes, they will drive your information systems. This is what will create your IT systems. Because if you're in a distributed or decentralized network for your health, for your business, you're going to need different IT systems than you will need if you're in a centralized location. Once you've defined your processes, then you'll be able to define what IT systems you need. When we look at McDonald's, everybody thinks they make their money from selling food. They make their money from real estate. They own the land, they own the building where the franchisee operates. So I'm not sure, I was sitting back earlier and I know I couldn't see this, but the accounting department. I can't process your travel expenses because you sent me copies of receipts. I need the originals. I'm busy, just fax them. Okay? That is often the case that happens when we don't have defined processes. Quality in your processes, not standards in products, will drive customer and employee satisfaction. When I say employee, I include trades and suppliers. And when I say quality, I mean consistency. As processes break down, we find that employee satisfaction and customer satisfaction drives downwards. In an industry like hardware, computer hardware, Dell had a customer satisfaction rating of 82 points on this 100 scale of 1 to 100. The rest of the industry was averaging 72. Today, Dell is at the bottom of the market at 82. The rest of the industry is 84, 85. Everybody realized Dell's model was, let's make sure that we're getting the orders correct. Let's focus on the internet. This was Dell back in 96, 97 versus Dell in 2004. Hire people that are aligned and support the strategy and your processes. Again, processes are a translation of your strategy. So you've got to focus on the people that are